just that, why are you here? Since I've been at this bonus, it's kind of a recurring theme, which is that nobody really quite seems to know what the theme is here. What's this whole event about? I certainly don't. I don't know why I'm the closing act, but I am. So, as individuals, which you sort of are, why are you here? You don't have to voice it. I don't want to hear your stories. But if you can ask that question within yourself and even have some sort of answer or some sort of internal visceral answer, that's going to help me to tune into that and to respond to that. Because the only reason for me to be up here and to be doing any of this is as a response to you. I would not be here if it wasn't for all of you. Right? Okay, so the thing is I didn't prepare anything. And somebody asked me today, like, oh, what's your presentation? And I remember the title, so I told them the title, The Smallest Particle in Creation, I think it is. And then they said, well, what's it about? And I started to tell them, but I got as far as the word culture. And then I couldn't remember anything else. So it's something about culture. Okay, so spontaneity. If I'm going to be spontaneous, that means that I can't actually know how I'm going to be spontaneous. If I'm going to talk to you about spontaneity, I can't plan it. The best thing I can do is give you a show of spontaneity, which could be very ugly, could be very uncomfortable, could be very dull, could be any number of things. It's not necessarily going to be entertaining or interesting. Certainly not going to be informative. I think that you've had more than enough information for the last 2 days. I don't have any more information for you. At least not in the usual sense of the word. I did have an idea today. Excuse me. I'm actually distrustful of ideas. I used to be all about them, but I think that they're overrated. So let's not call it an idea, but an insight. And that is that when we talk about creativity, which is apparently this is all about, or when I talk about creativity, when I think about creativity, and when I experience creativity, it's the same thing, or non-thing. It's the same expression as what I mean by spontaneity. And there's more. I've got my own Holy Trinity here. When I experience spontaneity, when I understand what I understand by spontaneity, stroke creativity, it's the same thing as what I would also call honesty. So these are 3 things that I'm just not quite spontaneously offering up to you. Spontaneity, creativity, honesty. And it just occurred to me that, we use words, we use language, and we assign these labels to things, and then because of that we think that we've actually identified realities. But what if spontaneity, creativity, and honesty were actually all the same thing, and we just came up with 3 different words for them, and we had no idea, because how often do we experience these things? Like if you're going to be spontaneous, you have to be prepared to be honest, because what will come out is going to be totally unexpected. So if you have anything to hide, you can't be spontaneous. Anyway, that was part of the thought I had. I'm going to do something very unspontaneous now, and I'm going to ask that we play a film clip, which hopefully will have some relevance to what I say afterwards, but it might not, so just enjoy the film clip.
3 weeks from now, I will be harvesting my crops. Imagine where you will be, and it will be so. Hold the line! Stay with me! If you find yourself alone, riding in green fields with the sun on your face, do not be troubled, for you are in Elysium, and you're already dead! Brothers, what we do in life echoes in eternity.
You like that? I think it's awesome. Does anyone not speak Spanish? Anyone need any help with that? Daniel, I can tell you later. The main bit, what we do in life, brothers, sisters, echoes in eternity. So, that is the context, like for what I've already said about spontaneity, creativity, honesty, all being one expression, bodily expression, nothing to do with words, believe it or not. Eternity is the context. Eternity is the only context that we have. Now, eternity has these associations with spirituality and such forth, mystical concepts. But eternity is just a mathematical, empirical, ontological reality, right? However you shape it or spin it or slice it. It's there. Without eternity, there's no context for anything. So, my man Russell Crowe there, no, that's not him. Could be like what's inside Russell Crowe, but we won't get there. He was rallying his troops, and the question that occurs to me, like, if what we do in life echoes in eternity, how do we live with that awareness? Do we want our acts to echo in eternity? What is it in us that is adequate, that is worthy to echo in eternity? What is the smallest particle in creation? What is the true, authentic core of each and every one of us that cannot be broken down, that cannot be reduced, that is irreducible, indivisible, eternal, absolutely its very own self? What is that? It's different for each and every one of us. And yet it's the same particle. There's only one particle. It's so small that it can go everywhere. So, what this experience is for me, which is all it is, I mean, for me it's just my experience. I can't partake of your experience. It's about finding my voice, finding the authentic voice, finding the deepest, most recondite part of myself, the smallest particle within myself, and speaking from that place. And if I can speak from that place, that will be absolutely honest, absolutely spontaneous, absolute creativity, creation. Something I remember just today, so I'm allowed to talk about it. It's that fresh. I mean, I feel it's fresh enough to talk about. Was the first time I ever used technology to be creative. And I was about 8 or something, and I was a big fan of Winnie the Pooh. I could ask for a show of hands about Winnie the Pooh, but I don't think I'll get that. I'm sure at least 30% of you know Winnie the Pooh. But he was a very formative cultural influence for me, like probably the first. And my mother kind of helped me to retain this memory because she was very impressed that one day my stepfather used to read Winnie the Pooh to me, and he would record it, and so I would listen back to the recordings and I'd hear my own voice. And one day I just suddenly said, I'm going to do this, and I took the tape recorder and I went off on my own and I made a recording of Winnie the Pooh. And I recorded, I think this is relevant by the way, not just the personal indulgence, but I guess we'll see. I recorded the hums of Pooh, and I still have that recording. That was the beginning of a long and not very illustrious career that has led me to this point now. And on the recording, it was the hums of Pooh, and I did two voices. There's a hum of Pooh. Hopefully this has some nostalgic value for at least one person. Does anybody grow up on Winnie the Pooh? Good, okay. Daniel, perfect. So, it has some resonance there. Excuse me a moment. So yeah, there were two voices, in particular Tiddly Pom, and it went very quickly. The more it snows, and that was Winnie the Pooh, and then Piglet would join in and go, Tiddly Pom! And I used to love Piglet, and so this is how I did it on the recording. I did the very deep Pooh voice, and the very high Piglet voice. And so I was remembering it this morning, that was the first time I got into pre-digital, analog media, but still technology, using technology to express myself creatively. These two voices, it was like one was my infant self, the high-pitched Piglet child self, which I still was more or less, and the other was the deep adult self. And that this kind of marked a point in my life where I was trying to grow up, trying to develop a persona, an identity with which I could enter into the world, culture, the social realm. And I've been doing that ever since. And something else I also read today, which I think hopefully it will tie it all together, that the voice, it comes from deep within the body, and it starts in the stomach, and it has to come up, and the lungs push it outward. It has to come into the throat, and then it has to, the sound waves come over the tongue and out of the lips. So it's an expression of the whole body, the voice. And it was Jonathan Lethem, the author, he said the voice is an audible kiss, and then he said the soul's burp. And I thought, oh well, in Spanish, Castellano, burp is irrupar. So that's like a row. So I was thinking, well, if the eyes are the window to the soul, then the voice is the eruption of the soul. It's that part of us that's trying to come out. And it's very, very, very few of us find our true authentic voice. It's like the last part of us that we can actually find and reconnect, because it gets taken from us. The Matrix, quote unquote, takes it from us, steals our voice. Because in the beginning was the Word. If we can't speak ourselves, if we can't speak our reality, we can't own it. We can't enter into reality. And our man Russell Crowe, who happens to have the same birthday as me, so I feel like we have certain affinity. This is a war that we're in, brothers and sisters. This is a war. Really, it is a war, but it's a war, it's an internal war that we're fighting. We're fighting to free our voice from the octopus of the conditioned self of culture, matrix, control. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's not the enemy, it's not the bad guy. I mean, the gladiator comes from a time when war was something enlivening, which actually brought us into our bodies, and I don't remember those times, but it's become something very different. So I'm feeling a little bit, maybe I went too far by bringing in war, but I think that some part of me needed to include that in what is my experience, and I think all of our experience, that much as we try to express ourselves honestly, creatively, spontaneously, to be authentic, to connect to each other, and to really have a full experience of being together, something is preventing us. And as much as we want to be a certain way, we can't be that way. So, it's not that hard. Like, I was terrified before I got here. I mean, I spent the whole day feeling nauseous and trembling. And what is this? Like, I knew as soon as I was actually up there, connected to the people, and in the moment, it was going to be fine. Like, I don't feel the slightest bit of fear or inhibition now, as you can probably tell. But the anticipation and my own internal dialogue, was telling me to be afraid. The Matrix was telling me, you are afraid. You're not good enough for this. You're shit, you're a loser, you're losing your hair. I mean, get it together, this is whatever. The whole program was trying to keep me in fear.
Can I say something?
Yes, you may.
What you said, that we want to be a certain way, but we can't. And what you said just next, that you were so afraid of getting up there, and you were feeling nauseous and all that. I think you do have a decision about it, because the same physiological feeling of being afraid is the exact same of the physiological feeling of being excited. So you can decide whether to be excited or to be afraid. That's something you yourself...
Absolutely. We could choose whether we believe that internal monologue, if we believe our thoughts and feelings, and whether we don't. And I'm here. I'm happy to be here. And I didn't really believe that, but it's necessary to experience that division within ourselves. We are divided, but there's part of us which can never be divided. And that's the part that my whole life is dedicated to getting back to. And I know that that's the same for all of you. Whatever you think that you came here for, the fact that you're in this room listening to me talk about this means that you are drawn, the deepest part of you is drawn by your soul's longing to find its eruption, its true expression in life, to have that one perfect, authentic moment to carry into eternity, because you only need one moment. It's eternity. Okay, so that's a good enough point to end on. So then, I don't know if I should ask if there are any questions, but I'm certainly open to them if there are. I know it's very late, so...
Yeah, I wanted to ask, why do you say that we can't be whatever we want to be?
Why do I say we can't?
Yeah, why do you say that?
Because of our condition.
Which condition?
The conditions that we were born into and that imprinted us in those first few minutes, hours, weeks, years of life.
Okay, but maybe we have that condition that, I don't know, maybe we're born in a country where something is prohibited, or maybe we're feeling a certain way, or maybe we have a health condition, or maybe anything. What if we decide not to be determined by that condition and just act upon it and change it? And, you know, I think we do have. I want to ask, why would you say the opposite?
Well, I didn't say we don't have a choice, although I'm tempted to now. Definitely we do. It's a very sticky, tangled area that you're kind of inviting me to go into. I think we have a choice to be conscious. We have a choice to observe and examine what's going on. And I think that tiny, tiny margin of choice makes all the difference in the universe. If we pay attention to our patterns and our compulsive behavior, then we're in it in a different way and it begins to change. But I don't think we can change our actions until we're actually fully aware of what's behind them.
Jason. So yeah, I just wanted to follow up on what she was saying that she didn't understand how you could say that we can't, you know, become what we want to become. I don't remember exact words, and you said that's because of our conditioning. But I would say, how do you know that's not just your conditioning? You don't know that other people's conditioning is the same as your conditioning. You might have a conditioning, but other people may not be subject to the same conditioning.
That's right, that's true, but then, see, I don't know that any of you exist either. It's true, I don't. I really don't. All I know is I'm here perceiving. I don't even know I'm perceiving, but there's a perception is happening here.
So why, then you should describe to others what you don't know.
Well, she did ask. I tried not to, but yeah, point taken. Yeah, I mean, you could be enlightened for all I know and just trap me. So yeah, I'm just speaking of my observation, my family, my experiences. And what people say to me, things they express. And if there's anyone here who isn't frustrated in their life, then I think they should take the mic and take over. Really, I'd love to hear what they have to say. But that's a bum note to end on. I think frustration is a creative thing. You can work with it. It's the friction. How about that guy with the hoodie? It looks like he has a question. No? Okay, well, Eric is not using microphone.
I got the voice.
There you go.
So, my question is that you still hold or experience that there's something like an authentic voice. That by which I mean that expressing in language, which of course comes to you from the outside, in some sense is part of the world of culture and conditioning in which you were born, that it's still possible to express yourself in that medium authentically, meaning the self that's the free spark or the place that's not conditioned. Am I right?
Yep. Yes.
So that means that there's some way that culture, that expression, that the larger circuit can be authentic, right? I mean, if you speak from yourself authentically, I hear that. There's some register. I mean, I make up what I make up out of it. but there's some way in which your authentic speech marks me, right?
Marks
You
you?
know, it affects me. I hear it. Maybe I respond incredibly, maybe I respond in some other way. But there is a way that you can make an expression in a cultural space.
Right, but I don't think it's words, you see. I don't think words are actually having that impact. I think it's if I'm actually connecting to the part of me that's authentic and finding my voice through these concepts, then my whole body is impacting those and expressing. So there's a visceral exchange of energy.
That has absolutely nothing to do with language. So why?
I think that because I'm hooked into language, that if I can use language in such a way that I feel that I'm connecting to something true, then that expression. But I think that a plumber could be up here talking about plumbing, and you would get the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's fine with the plumber or with you, but what I want to suggest is that if you are able to emit authentic signals, whether they're in language or in emotion, affect, whatever's coming out, into the space that we're sharing culturally, that means that other people can do that too, and in fact, part of the cultural conditioning has within it these threads of authenticity that have been expressed by others.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's what Winnie the Pooh is for me, or
There we go.
superheroes, what have you. But the smallest particle is everyone. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, but the reason I bring it up is just that the problem with the matrix model for me is that it tends to be too totalizing.
Yeah.
And it strikes me that you're not that totalizing. That for you, there are signals in the matrix that are coming from genuine sparks that are gathered, and you're not completely solipsistic in that sense.
No, I'm not. There's two things I want to say to that. One is, what I've recently been saying is that the Matrix can't tell you who you are, but it gives you all the clues that you need. So you make the Matrix, a metaphor, is your friend, it is your ally. And the other thing is, when I was saying to Daniel, I don't know that any of you exist, that might sound solipsist, but it's not that I actually doubt that you're real, because I do feel a real connection going on. But when we're using language and referring to the intellect, I have to be intellectually honest and say that intellectually I don't know what's going on here. I really don't know what's going on. Well, that would be a perfect note to end on. Okay, thank you.